If you're researching bankruptcy in New Jersey, you've probably heard the term means test. But what is the means test? Why does it matter? How can it tell you whether you qualify for Chapter 7 or how much you have to pay your creditors in a Chapter 13? Hi, I'm Michael Brower, a staff attorney here at the law offices of Lee M. Perlman. We've helped individuals and families get financial fresh starts. Before we discuss how the means test works, I want you to remember this. Just because you're reaching out to a bankruptcy attorney does not mean you're filing. It means you're getting the information you need to know how the process works. If you find this video helpful, I want to remind you to like and subscribe to this channel and contact our office with your specific question. So, what is the bankruptcy means test? In 2005, Congress was concerned that too many people were filing for bankruptcy. Lawmakers were concerned that people, especially with middle and higher incomes, were abusing the bankruptcy system by discharging debts that they could actually afford to pay back. To make it harder to file for bankruptcy, Congress passed new laws requiring a means test for individuals. The means test determines whether there is a presumption of abuse if you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, whether your Chapter 13 plan must last for 3 or 5 years, and how much disposable income should be available to repay unsecured creditors in a Chapter 13 repayment plan. The means test applies to people with primarily consumer debts, such as credit cards or medical bills. If somebody has primarily non-consumer debts, like business-related debts or income taxes, the means test may not apply. The means test also does not apply to some disabled veterans depending on the kind of debt they have. The first step of the means test compares your household's gross income over the last 6 months with the median gross income of a household of the same size. This calculation includes most forms of income such as wages, self-employment income, rental income, alimony, pensions, unemployment, and contributions from household members. Social Security income, however, is excluded. If you're married, the means test will count your spouse's income even if they're not filing bankruptcy with you. If your household income is below the median, then you're generally allowed to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, or if you're in Chapter 13, propose a 3-year repayment plan. If your income is above the median, then you have to calculate your disposable income by subtracting certain allowable expenses from your gross income. For example, food, clothing, housekeeping, healthcare, and transportation expenses are pegged to standard allowances in the means test. With limited exceptions, you must use the IRS standard expenses in these categories. Essentially, the law says to disregard some of your expenses and to apply those IRS standards instead. In other words, if your expenses are above average, we disregard the part of your expenses that goes above the average. Other expenses, like the cost of cigarettes, are not typically allowed to be deducted at all. Even if your income is above the median, if you end up with no disposable income at the end of the means test, you might still qualify to file for Chapter 7. If your disposable income is too high, the law presumes that filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy would be an abuse. Instead, people with disposable income typically file for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. The means test also plays a major role if you're planning to file for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. First, even if you have no disposable income, if you file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy and your gross income is above the median, you have to commit to a 5-year repayment plan. Your bankruptcy could be shorter than 5 years in that situation if you commit to paying your debts in full in a shorter time frame. If you have disposable income in Part 2 of the means test, then your plan payments have to be high enough to pay unsecured creditors at least your disposable income times 60. That's because there are 60 months in a 5-year repayment plan. Because the means test looks back in time 6 months, when you decide to file bankruptcy could dramatically impact the result of the means test. A holiday bonus, temporary overtime, or short-term unemployment can alter your income calculation and change whether you qualify for Chapter 7 or you must file for Chapter 13. This is why every case needs careful planning with a qualified attorney. I'm Michael Brower, a New Jersey bankruptcy attorney. If you're curious how the bankruptcy means test applies to you, reach out today to schedule a no-cost consultation. And remember, contacting a bankruptcy attorney does not mean that you're filing for bankruptcy. It means that you're trying to understand your options and find the best path towards a financial fresh start. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to learn more about Chapter 7, Chapter 13, and the bankruptcy process here in New Jersey.